Hi guys, my name is Kateryna.
And my name is Daria.
Welcome to Universe Unleashed.
Today's our guest is Tracey. Tracey is marketing strategist and the founder of BOWO Creative agency. Thank you so much, Tracey, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tracey, it's so nice to have you here. And I know we already touched this topic behind the scenes, but I just want to share this story with everyone. Like, can you tell us that you came here as a teenager, right, to Canada? Can you please tell us like your path and what actually shaped your voice here in Canada?
So I was thinking about these questions, and I think what shaped my voice is actually the journey of finding it. I came here at 16, so, very young. I didn't really have a roadmap to even like who I was, right? Like who the hell I was, what do I want to do? It was just pretty much what my parents or society had instilled in me up to that point. When I came here at 16, I spoke very little English, so I watched a lot of Friends. That's where I learned my English from. Because like you said earlier when we were chatting up too, behind the scenes, that I also had a lot of accents when I first came, so I was very quiet in school because I felt like if I said something wrong, they're gonna laugh at me, right? So a lot of my high school friends actually thought I was muted because I never really spoke. I did well academically, and they loved that because I used to cheat off my paper and stuff. But I barely spoke. And then I think at 16, there was a really strong need to almost like fit in, right? Because you came here and like 20 years ago, Vietnam was not like how it is today, and I didn't get a lot of like Western exposure either. So even with like the way I dress and everything, like there was just a need to fit in. And I think I didn't really figure out my true voice until mid-20s.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's just a lot of things that kind of happen that kind of make you feel like, oh, like I'm trying to do this, but it doesn't really feel like myself. But who is myself? Like, it's like, it's a whole journey, right? And I think that I always believe that things happen for a reason. So looking back, I always think that, such and such happened for me, not for a bad reasons. It's for good reasons. Because if I didn't go through those experiences, I wouldn't know who I am and kind of get to this place now where I'm feeling very comfortable in my own skin and know who I am and what I stand for.
What do you think? Like you said that at around 25, you actually found your voice. So how would you, like, maybe there was some characteristics, like how you understand, okay, now like I actually feel myself in my skin.
Yeah, I think when I came at 16, I thought that I had it all figured out, right? Like the plan was really clear. I'm gonna finish high school, I'm gonna attend university, I'm gonna get an MBA, and I'm gonna move back. That was the deal with my parents. Like once you finish school, you go back and, get a good job. That's the whole point of actually sending me here, because my generation was one of the first generations of kids that were sent abroad. And there was a pressure to send your kids abroad so they can have a better future. Because if they stay back and they continue on with the local education, they might not have a good opportunities because they start seeing a lot of foreign companies investing in Vietnam at the time. So my dad was actually working 3 jobs just to afford tuitions and everything here. And I came here, I also started working part-time at a Thai restaurant to like make some allowances for myself. So I thought like that was the plan until, I finished university. I got my first corporate job, and every day I was at my cubicle, I was just keep looking at other people's YouTube and blogs. At the time, there was Michelle Phan, so she was one of the very first like Asian YouTubers that actually like doing a lot of like awesome things for herself and using YouTube as a platform. And I thought to myself, like, this corporate life is really not for me, because if I have no worries of money or anything else, I would rather be doing creative work. And so I wanted to open an online business, so something I can start on the side without having to leave my corporate job, because like you're here by yourself. You ladies know, but you have to provide for yourself. So it's a big move to just quit and start something. And a friend of mine introduced me to a network marketing company, and at that point, I didn't really know what it was. Long story short, I dig myself in that business for 5 years, worked really hard, won all of their challenges and like all the awards and all that stuff. But then my bank account was still not, reflecting the same. And also I just felt like it wasn't really me to go out and sell something that I was not 100% like proud of. And I think that's around the time where I decided to leave the company. And that was my first life lesson about how people can turn on you when you are not on their agenda, when you actually voice your concerns and how you feel and express that certain things don't align with your ethical standards, then we don't know you kind of thing. So that's when that was like I think the biggest experience that got me to realize like, okay, well, everything that I knew from the past, all the friendships and all the relationships were not really genuine. And then I thought to myself, like, what kind of person was I to attract this kind of things or people to my life? And I realized that I was trying to be someone else, honestly. At the time, I was also building my career as a content creator on Instagram. So, there was a pressure, right? To look cool. Like I would be on vacation, but the whole time I was on the phone creating content. And I just thought that like, it's actually not me. Yeah. I would like to be present every single minute of the things that I'm doing. I want to build an actual business that make a difference. Not to say that, content creating is not making a difference, but at the time, it just wasn't something that aligned with who I was at that time. And so like that was around the same time that I started to go back and ask myself questions like, who am I? What am I good at? And what values do I believe in?
It's cool how this experience actually helped you to reassess your values that you had as a teenager and actually, turned yourself in a grown up and turned yourself in. Yeah. Because some people would learn from this situation. They would be like, okay, I have no voice and I should have no voice. I just have to follow what like authorities telling me to. Like authorities, I mean like a manager or your boss, because they are feeding me, they're giving me money. So I have to shut my voice and just follow whatever they tell me to. And I feel like you have to be like a pretty strong person with a foundation, like belief system that it was, I'm not sure, like it was your family or the society you grew in that actually shaped you. They were like, when you face such a challenging experience, you're actually, no, okay, I know you are wrong because my ethics standards are so high. Right. I know I am right. I'm doing the right thing. So I want to do something different than you do. So I'm just saying it's amazing how you were not actually traumatized. You were kind of traumatized, but you actually turned it as a good thing for you, like as you mentioned, like as an experience.
Yeah,
right?
I think I have my parents to thank for that. Growing up they don't call Vietnam a third world country anymore, but it used to be called a third world country in the 90s. That's when I was born. So growing up in that kind of culture, women in general were taught to like keep it down, don't say anything, you're obey your parents and your husbands. And there's like, I'm from like a big city, so you don't see that much of a culture there anymore, but in like smaller provinces you still see that kind of culture, right? So I grew up in that culture, but my parents really taught me differently. My mom, she spent a lot of her career fighting for women's rights in Vietnam and children's rights. So I used to just like pick a ride with her to work, and I see the work that she does. And like you have a daughter yourself, so like kids, they don't really learn through what you tell them.
They watch.
they watch.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had the privilege to watch my mom doing all these incredible things, right? And she had a whole career for herself. At some point, like she was constantly on the news being interviewed, and I was so proud of her. And in my head, I'm like, wow, like I never thought that women can actually have a voice and, you know, doing all these incredible things, right? So, and my dad always, I have an older brother, he's 6 years older than me. And every time he did something and I wanted to do it, my dad was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Like anything your brother can do, you can also do. So that kind of like the environment of my like little family growing up. And I don't see that a lot, which, you know, is unfortunate. And I think that as like parents now, I'm very mindful of like what I do and what I say to my daughter. But I really hope that she can also have the same privilege like me growing up.
I'm pretty sure she will, because you're the one who has the same values as your parents and you are passing it on. So
I'm trying. I'm trying, you know, because like every generation's kind of face different challenges, right? So
Yeah. I also love how you mentioned that when you notice that people around you are not, you know, supportive or are not like how you expected them to be. And instead of like blaming everyone else and saying, you know what, like I hate you and it's all your fault, you were saying like how, well, like what I did to attract this kind of people. I think it's very important to realize that we're actually like in charge of our lives. And if you see that like your friends or like people around you are not exactly what you expect them to be, so probably you need to change something in your like perspective, or maybe like your little world, and like people around will change as well. So I think it's very nice like not to blame everyone else and the government and everything around you, you know, for everything. Was there like a trend for women empowerment? Because right now it's huge. I'm not sure how sincere is that sometimes, but it's a huge trend right now, like in corporations, in companies, and like people around us, like are trying to say women support women. And it's a great trend. Like I love it. And that's what we're trying to do with our podcast, with our community, with our events as well. But I'm just trying to figure out, was it like that before, or like who, like maybe you noticed like how this trend started?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely think that, well, I grew up in a household full of strong women, right? My grandmother on my mom's side, she has 6 children and she's a single mom, raised everybody. And then my mom with her career. So it was never a trend to me. It was just like I grew up seeing all of that, right? And so when I first started my business, we started the name BOWO because it stands for Boss Women. And we had a very clear mission to help female founders grow and scale their business with digital marketing and marketing strategies. Because at the time, like I would do a discovery call with a client, a potential client. And what I hear all the time is like, you know, I hire so-and-so agency and he just didn't understand what I want. Or he would give me this logo of like this sexy women because that's all he that's all he could think of when it comes to beauty. Is like, you gotta look sexy, but like that's not what my business is about. I'm about helping women feeling good. And I just found that there was a gap in the market for somebody who is also a woman to come in the beauty industry to close that gap and say, hey, I can help you market to your target market because I am one of them. I am your customer,
I
right?
understand you.
I understand you, right? So that's how I started my business. But I definitely think that like over the years, this whole movement had become more of a marketing trend or the marketing tactic than actually about women empowerment. I'm not gonna name this bank. There's pretty big bank. I remember it earlier in my career. I attended this conference and they were one of the sponsors, and it's a women focused conference, right? So you know the rep came up on stage and they start talking about all of these awesome programs that they have to support female run businesses. So I'm like, oh, that's great. Let me book an appointment with them. I showed up to the appointment and basically everything that they presented to me was exactly the same materials that they would present to my husband if he owns a business. There was nothing different about the two programs. So basically the pamphlets, the brochures and all of that stuff were just a marketing tactic to get you through the door. But once you sit down and talk to them, there was no special incentives or any of that stuff to support women businesses. This was 6 years ago, so I don't know if it's any difference now. But that's like one of the example of where I kind of feel a little let down by this women empowerment trend, because you kind of selling an idea to women that like we're here to support you, but then you don't realize that it's just basically the same material, just wrapped up a little nicely. To attract women to come in.
What do you guys think? What does really women empowerment mean then? Like, because as we were just discussing, so it's a big trend, and it's such a big trend that we even started our thing, like with the podcast and events. You started your business based on this trend. So what do you guys think the actual women empowerment is, instead of just saying big words and like sending you to conferences?
Well, for me, I think it's like the little things. And honestly, like even like on Instagram, or like a follow, or like a simple like heart on your story. I think this is actually the support. Not the, again, not the big words like I'm supporting you. And then when you meet them, you say like your supportive words or something like that. It's the actual little things that you can do. Like you can reshare like an ad for an event, or for a course, or for something that this person is doing. So you can just, like little things, and maybe you can attend the event, even like you can buy a ticket. Maybe it's not like your favorite thing to do, like, but it's also because you want to support this person. You're like, okay, it's kind of like I'm certain, like I'm not like a fan of this, but I'm kind of interested and I like this person. So yeah, I'm going to attend this event. So, and maybe if you have some resources, like we have like this YOUniverse page, right? So we can tag someone and we can reshare like some source or something like that. So I think like little things that would add up for a support, for an actual support.
Yeah, I think women empowerment should be a way of life rather than a trend or a marketing tactic, right? Like I remember we had a conversation just kind of pre-podcast when you kind of like, oh, you want to come and have a conversations and stuff. And you constantly asking me like, what can we do to help market your business, right? I think that's just how it is, right? Like just always thinking about how can we win together rather than just like, oh, if she wins then I'm losing, or if like
I only want to win
right?
at your cost.
But I also feel like coming from a corporate background, that's like the culture too. It's almost like they put women against each other, and a lot of us grew up in a culture or households that kind of put us in a lack mentality too, when we like constantly being compared to other women, for example, right? Like going back to finding my voice, like yes, my parents did a great job raising me with like my values and whatnot, but then my relatives and people surrounding me,
society,
just a culture, right? A society. I remember constantly being compared with another cousin that was born pretty much the same year as me. And we're actually born in the same month, just different days, which make it worse. Because they're always like, well, so-and-so is now a doctor. Like, what are you doing? And, and then so-and-so, like, husband is, like, making so much money. Or, like,
What about
I'm just like, what about, like, you making a lot of money as a woman, right? Like, but you know what I'm trying to say is, like, as I don't see people do that as much to boys than girls. And I'm trying to be aware of that too with my daughter. Like I don't compare her with like her classmates or whatever. Like if she didn't eat well, I don't go like, oh, so and so ate so well. I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it's just not your appetite today. Like you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of appetite today, for example, or like maybe you're just not feeling well. We'll try again tomorrow. You know, and I think that that's, like I said, the way of life, rather than just think of it like, oh, if I'm putting this women empowerment is like on my podcast, on my website, like people are gonna buy more from me, or
Yeah.
people are gonna, you know, support my business more. Like if you are a genuine person and you're kind to people, automatically I feel that you attract people that are gonna support you, right?
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. And when you were saying about the growing up, I actually got the goosebumps because the thing is, I fell in love with women a couple of years ago. I haven't realized it in my head, but I had this competition, but not only competition. You know how I was growing up praising men? They're great, like my dad is great, and my mom was never put down. And even my dad, he would be like, you're the smartest, you are smarter than a lot of adults, like, oh my god, you're so amazing. So he would be always supporting me. But our culture is more like, it's more of a like, okay, she has larger boobs, or she has like tinier waist, or she
Right.
has longer hair. And growing up as a big girl, I would always compare myself to other girls who are more attractive to the guys.
Yeah.
And you're always like, oh, we are praising the man. He's the prize. We have to attract the prize. And that's all we care about. And I feel like because of that, I was like, oh, you know, I have all my friends are guys. I have a lot of guy friends. I don't have that a lot of girlfriends, even though I had a lot of girlfriends. But I would say, no, I have a lot of guy friends. And a couple of years ago, I feel like therapy helped me a lot. It was just like my mom relationship with and mine. But what helped me is actually like when I actually fell in love with women, I was just so amazed by the power each woman has and how many things we actually generate and how many things in this world, oh sorry, I'm getting good, but how many things in this world I actually made by women or for women, how women actually rule the market, like the world trends, everything.
Yeah.
We are the largest consumers as well. So everything that is around us, it's for us, aesthetics. Men, well, I don't want to be sexist, sorry, but usually men do not care that much about like the coziness or the how everything looks. So when I fell in love with women, I was was noticing how many women around me, they having full-time job, they are all having a side hustle. They're all starting their business. And I was like, you girls are amazing. You inspire me and motivate me so much. So everyone knows, like all of my like friends or like even acquaintances, they're like, there's only two people who react to all of my stories, my mom and you and me, because I always send like the fire, the hearts, like
Yeah.
all, I always send like 3 reactions
I
to
love
each
that.
story. I put the hearts because I'm just amazed. I'm sharing how, like all of my emotions, how I'm amazed that women do so much. Like, and like me, myself, even I have full-time job, I have side hustle. We're also doing the podcast and the events.
Yeah.
And it's like so many things and you actually look after the house at the same time. And recently I just started to realize I was looking at outside and being motivated and amazed by other women, but then I was like, okay, I have myself as well to be
Yeah.
amazed at how, like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm tired. Why am I tired? I was like, okay, yeah, well, you know what? You're doing so many things. You
Yeah.
could be tired. It's okay. But sometimes I just blame myself. Why are you tired? You have to do. There's so many things on your list you haven't done yet.
Yeah, but give yourself the credit too, because like look at the podcast setup and how far you both have like make this podcast to such a successful one too, right? Like you were sharing me the story of like setting up for an hour, right? And like what you have today, everything is, I know as women, we're so hard on ourselves and I really feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit. So to like add on top of the whole comparison and like, you know, thinking that like it's not gonna be a win-win, it's just like, it's just tough on women in general, right? But yeah, I give everybody credits all the time. I teach my daughter to clap for herself. So my mom came,
too.
right?
Yeah.
It's the best thing. Like my mom came to visit a couple months ago, and she's like, every time she did something, she just started clapping. I'm like, yeah, because I taught her that. Clap for yourself so you don't have to seek outside validations, right? And then you recognize like your own worth and all of that stuff too. Is something that I like, as much as my parents did a lot for me, that's the one thing they didn't teach me. And I think in my 20s, like when I was trying to find my voice too, I spent a lot of time trying to seek for outside validation to prove a point.
During your journey, do you think how you viewed success, definitely, I guess it definitely changed because when you were a corporate, you had different values, you were viewing the world differently. But how would your perception of the success changed?
I think it changed the most once I became a mother.
Okay.
Totally relate to this. Like your whole life changed, right? And I think now, like before, I would look at success as like, you're successful, people look at you at a certain perspective. Maybe you have a successful company, your team loves you, your clients loves you. Like I was running on that adrenaline of like what success should be. And now I think my definition of success is just being able to live life on your own term and do things that like your gut feeling like it's telling you like, oh, this is like a hell yes, instead of doing things because you think, oh, this is gonna make me look good, this is gonna make my company looks good, or like this is gonna bring in more revenue or whatever. I say yes to clients now, not based on how much money they are gonna bring in for my business, but more of like, do we have the same values? Is my team and are my team and I going to feel good working with these clients? Do we wake up every day feeling like, oh my God, like we love these clients, we cannot wait to help them succeed, right? So I think it's just more of like, can we live life on our own term and do things that we want to do? Like have the freedom of time maybe to even like go for a walk with my daughter middays. Like to me right now, like not to sound cocky, but to me, if I'm looking at that definition, I think I'm pretty there. And there's still a long way to go, obviously, but I would want to give myself that credit of like, because I think it's a big privilege to be able to spend this much amount of time with my daughter, compared to other women who might have to go back to work right after their mat leaves and all that stuff. So yeah, that would be my answer.
I 100% agree with you. And it actually touched base on what you were saying earlier, how when you came to Canada, you were trying to blend in and your success would be, like being like everyone else or being accepted or like passing.
Yeah.
That's a struggle
Yeah.
still. That would be like your success on like finishing university or like, like climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
But as you grow and you actually found like your foundation within, you actually think that success is actually just me being happy and me following my voice and having the freedom to follow your voice.
It is freedom. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
That's
100%
freedom.
agree with you. And I feel like it's just, I want to say it's age, but I don't think it's age. It's just like when you actually realize that you are the most important person in your life.
Yeah.
And when you cherish yourself, when you clap for yourself for all of your even little successes, is this when you come to the realization that this is the success, when you're just happy within. I know you, like I've read online that you actually have several businesses, right? And you as the woman who has so much experience in the field, right, of starting in the business. Also, you are very relatable since you're an immigrant. You started from scratch, no help, no sponsors, right? What would be an advice you would give women? Because modern women, they love starting their side hustles. They want to break through. They want to have this freedom, this success, this luxury to spend, like to follow their voice and what's like coming out of from within. So what kind of advice would you give women who would like to start something of their own?
So I'm gonna share this advice because it is something that I wish somebody told me earlier when I started my business is, spend less time studying other people's success and spend more time on studying yourself. And I think that is so important because, with the social media now, with all the internet gurus, like you can just pull out Instagram, look at maybe one talk from like a well-known entrepreneur, and the next thing you know, the whole algorithm is feeding you everything. And everyone has something to say. Everyone has different opinions and different approaches in terms of how they were able to build their own success. And I think that we're missing the point is that what works for them might not work for us, right? Like I used to buy books and attend, conferences, and also like hiring coaches and buy courses from, again, women, female mentors, and they're great, they're amazing. But I couldn't really see the alignment in terms of values and identity. And I realized that, these are women who don't look like me, first of all, and don't share the same journey that I have been through. And so their advice to a certain extent doesn't really apply to me, right? And I think that I'm not saying stop studying other people's success. It's very important because you need to know their secret or the formula so that you can use that as a reference to maybe shortcut your way to success. But it's very important to know you more because then if you hear these advices, you're gonna immediately know like, oh yeah, that's not gonna work for me, or oh yeah, this is a great idea because this is my strength and I should play more on my strength, right? Like for years I spent time trying to overcompensate for my weaknesses when I could have just realize that, I'm going to focus all in on improving and scaling on my strengths and then work with someone else who are better than me at the things that I'm not good at. And that would be so much easier for me to, build a business, create something, right? Like I'm very thankful for my team at BOWO Creative today because like these ladies, they're amazing and they're really good at what they do. And sometimes they do things that I'm like, oh my God, I would never be able to come up with this, but you guys are great. And it's almost like you, there's like a whole weight of the world off your shoulders when you know yourself better because like, you're not worried about trying to impress anyone anymore. You find your voice and also you find your lane. You know exactly what's going to work for you and you're not being distracted by the outside noises, right? Like you don't feel that FOMO anymore. I call it JOMO, so joy of missing out instead of fear of missing out. And you operating out of a place of abundance because like I'm operating in my zone of genius and I have a lot of it, right? So I'm always going to have more of that if I'm focusing on this one only rather than fear, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing other people succeeding in other platforms. Like, oh, should I be here too? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, you should just focus on what you're good at. And that takes time. You really have to know yourself enough to know what you're good at.
Tracey, thank you so much for being honest and for all your valuable insights and your experience and sharing your life journey. This was amazing and very interesting. I'm sure it was very inspiring for our audience. And thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like we do follow your advice right now. We're still trying to find our voice and our way. And I agree with you. It does not always help to just listen to what other people been through. It's actually more helpful to
Look
have our own
inside.
both. Yes.
Yeah. And like, I think sometimes we just drop that pressure of like, be like other people and just really like, this is who I am and what I have. And let me just like utilize it. Right. And I love what you girls are doing actually with this podcast, because instead of saying, because I was in that same spot when I'm like, oh my God, English is not my first language. And like, who am I to start a podcast, right? And then you started a podcast and taking pride of the fact that English is not your first language, and you created this podcast for other women who also share the same experience. And I think that we really need that in the podcast world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tracey, for your warm word.
Of course, you're doing great things. It's an honor to be here, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just sitting at my home, like my couch, not really mine, but we're just chatting with two girlfriends. I love it.